Today we meet in Tantanya, Adelaide, on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains, and we extend our respects to Kaurna elders past and present. We recognise this country's rich traditions of knowledge and storytelling and pay respects to all Kaurna storytellers and all Aboriginal and First Nations storytellers.
Howdy. Should I just...
Yeehaw, partner.
I was thinking yesterday I should practice voice acting. Like,
Yeehaw.
yeehaw! Welcome to Amy and the cast takeover month. It is July. Okay, so we have more guests than ever today. Of course, this is Peyton speaking, BT dubs. We've got Amy Barry, not to be confused with Amy Matthews, who, if you tuned in last week, you will remember that we're celebrating the release of her latest book, 7 Brides for BEAU McBride. We're also joined by Kathleen. Hi.
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 I think we might need to introduce Kathleen because she hasn't been on. this month.
Yes, she's going to be later in the
This is
year.
her first appearance.
Yes. Oh my God, I practiced introducing B and not Kathleen.
Because I pulled the magic on you.
Kathleen is a PhD candidate studying Christmas romance. So we're going to see a lot of you from now on, basically, which is perfect. And we've also got B. St. James, the writer, social media content creator, social media manager, and boot scooter.
Yeah. I need to put that on my LinkedIn, actually. That would be great if I could
Yes.
just boot scooter. I feel like I would get
Exactly.
more recruitment.
You need to, legitimize the practice of boot scooting.
I feel like we at Saddle and Stomp have really legitimized that.
You have.
It's become
Professional
like
boot scooter.
a professional. Oh my God, it's become like a problem. Like people have been, anyway, we'll get into it. but
I'm
it's
going
a
to
whole
ask you about it. And we're also joined by Millie Heffernan.
I'm also here.
Millie is also here.
You boot scoot, Millie?
I used to in my prime. I
used to
can't
do
really anymore.
banana
I used to do line
sometimes.
dancing. Yeah. I love line dancing.
It was huge in the 90s when I was young.
We had to do line dancing in PE at school.
Yeah.
Like,
We used to do a square dancing.
oh, we did that too.
Oh, we're bringing that back too.
Are you doing that saddle and stomp?
We're doing 2-step and country swing.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so we're bringing back the dance social. 'cause
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
been lacking. So yeah.
Totally. I love that it's in Adelaide of all places as well.
Oh yeah. So
But there are so many people there.
oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to find. So I work for a company called Saddle and Stomp. It's like a line dance company. It's owned by this lovely lady Eleni, and she's from California. And she we need to find a bigger venue because Shotgun Willie's in the city is not very big. And we get
Well, that's a good problem to have.
Hundreds of people come, and we can't fit
Yes.
them in the building.
Is that why you're sometimes on the street?
We're on the street every Thursday. So we're literally on the street, and cars come through that. So it's a working street. So cars come through it. It's a
Wow.
whole thing. But yeah, we're trying to.
People yearn to scoot their boots.
They
Yeah,
really
what a
do.
good problem to have.
It's actually crazy how big it's gotten. It's madness.
And it's
But
like,
is it tied to the rise in these contemporary westerns? Because everyone's into cowboys right now.
Yeah,
Oh.
country's cool again.
Country's cool
Yeah,
again.
there's a song by Lainey Wilson as well. It's this whole thing that country's cool again. Like everyone wants to be a cowboy. Everyone wants to be part of the Western scene, wear
Yeah.
Western clothing, and yeah, boot scoot and read cowboy romances. So.
Because it never went away, right? Like, it's
Nothing
just
ever
gotten big
goes
again.
completely
I feel
away.
like, yeah.
That's
Cowboy
like-
print, like actual cow print, is like in Kmart right now. You
Yeah,
can buy the clothes.
Nice.
There you go.
Need a uniform for Saddle and Stomp.
All the scooting and boogieing.
I was going to ask about that actually, because obviously, well, this episode is more so about contemporary romances. And the next week in our interview with Amy Barry, we're going to be talking about historical romances. But, like, do we call them cowboy romance or contemporary westerns? Like, what do we call them and why?
I would say that like contemporary Western is kind of it's not romance because you'd say like contemporary Western romance. But if you're talking about contemporary Western, you're probably more like aligned to like Yellowstone or even like
Yeah.
Territory, like that new show that's set in Australia,
And
but it's a western.
Yellowstone's huge.
Yellowstone
People are
is
obsessed.
huge, yeah, and
That's so
so
many spin-offs now.
it does, and like westerns in itself is like different to like your western romances,
Yeah.
and then your cowboy romance. If you want to get really like into it, is like a western romance does not a cowboy romance make, and so that's every cowboy romance is a western, but not every western is a cowboy.
This is great. I know nothing about this. This is great.
Yeah. How did you start getting into contemporary? Now I don't know what to call them.
I don't know, western.
romances.
Contemporary Western romance. How about that?
Yeah.
It's long.
CWRs.
Well, because like so my granddad was a cowboy, and he loved country music, and so I like got to know country music really well.
About that life.
I've been about country music for a long time. I think the metalhead sort of era of people like when I was very much into like metal, and I still am. People were like, oh, like you're into this and not this. And it's like no, like you kind of always carry it with you. And so country music was always huge, and I was always like really big on it. And then I became friends with someone who we decided we wanted to go to line dancing, and then we kind of got really into it. But the cowboy romances, I think, it's just that small town feel. I think everyone just loves a small town, and I think the cowboy romance just allows like so much.
Do you think there's something about anti-technology too?
Oh,
Simple
hell
life?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just that small town vibe, the community. Like we're so lacking in community now, and so to be small town cowboy, like everyone knows everyone. Like you go into a bar and people like recognize you and like talk to you, and they know what's going on, and like that community feel.
And then so with romance, like you were just talking about the dancing.
Yeah.
Like having socials.
Yeah.
Like part of that is like old school, meet someone in person, touch their hands, look into
Yeah.
their eyes.
So Eleni, who runs Saddle and Stomp, met her boyfriend at line dancing. He came in one week and she didn't see him because she was left really early, and we actually like kind of brought him into the circle, and now they're dating, and it's the whole thing. And like people have met their partners there. Like they were just in the newspaper last week. It's like it's best friends have been made there. Like everyone talks about like their favorite thing as a community, and it's like I think bringing back the dance social, being the cowboy romances. Like a lot of these romance books are part of like an interconnected series, so you end up with like all the friends in the group meet their partners through this cowboy thing, and it's you end up with like these groups of people coming together. And I think that's that longing for connection, and that dance social, that meeting people and not online, swiping left or right or whatever. And it's I think as someone who's photographed a lot of weddings, like it's people always like, oh, we met on Hinge or we met on Tinder, and that they kind of feel embarrassed about it. So I think
there's
that's
a kind
part
of
it. Old fashioned, yeah. And I think it's old fashioned like the right way.
Yeah, that's true.
That.
Like,
Yeah,
take the best parts of
cherry picking tradition. Yeah.
So is it not about the men at all?
Yeah. I mean,
well, hello.
I mean, I don't know.
The cowboys, like this whole thing about like actual cowboys are like toxic.
Sure.
So it's like
you heard it here first.
What a
Be said.
There is a thing where I've heard is that like a lot of cowboys are toxic,
Right.
but it's also a job. So like
Yeah.
when people think cowboy, they think of like just someone who rides a horse or like dresses a certain way. But being a cowboy is a job.
Yeah.
And it's one of the hardest jobs in the world to do.
Right.
And it's boring and it's laborious and it's so hard and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And like, so I think it is about the men to a degree. I think it's this rugged masculinity and they're being able to do this like things with their hands and like having a job that doesn't involve like being pretty or something like that. But at the end of the day, it is a job. So
that's true. We say cowboys, but like a lot of them are, it's about ranching or like they're doing certain things, right? They're not just out there riding horses and it's all beautiful and wild. It's like, no, they have jobs to do.
It was really funny, like, because I was watching Lila Sage release the last book in her most recent, or her first series, but like her cowboy series. And at one of her talks, a girl was like, I had no idea what a cowboy did until I read these
Oh my god, I
books.
saw that. That was hilarious.
And it was like, what do you mean?
It was like reading fantasy. It was like a fantasy novel to me. It's a whole new world.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's like a job and they have to get up early and they have to do all these things. It's like, it's that, like, it's so crazy. But yeah, it's a job.
They
It
were
sucks.
talking in the last episode for this month. I think it was Amy who asked, like, how do we decide what kind of farming is sexy?
I think about this a lot.
Yeah.
Because
I
like,
think about
and
this
then
a
Justina
lot.
was like, watermelons? Like, is that sexy? Because it is like, it's different, right? It's different when they're ranchers who are like herding cows or sheep, or if it's like a farmer who's growing like corn and
So
wheat.
sheep, I think
It's
sheep are
different.
a line as well. Like, because I
Yeah, I think
was
sheep definitely
trying to
align.
pitch a book recently, and Johnny and I were like riffing about how you would do it, and I was like, oh, sheep. Like, and then she would turn up and go, oh, so you're a shepherd. Like,
Oh, right.
it's like
There's a
not
word
as
for that.
sexy as like a cattle rancher, right?
Yeah.
It's really rescue farms in books.
Oh yeah, like
Everyone
a,
just went really quiet when I said
No.
that. I like those.
yeah, like a sanctuary where they're not like selling the
Yes.
cattle and like
Yeah,
eating
it's
them.
nice, you know.
It's got to be about riding the horse, right?
Yeah, you got to ride a horse at some point. Could we have a winery? Like an Adelaide Hills winery?
Does that count as like Western? Like, is that farming still?
Well, that's one of the things that's interesting to me is about these contemporary ones is the settings and how like Elsie Silver's series, those ones are Canadian, right?
Yeah, they're Canadian, yeah.
And then also the most recent series, they're not all like working on farms.
No.
In fact, I think only one of them so far is.
The Rosehill series, that she doesn't categorize them as cowboy romances.
Yeah.
Because only one of them's a cowboy. So Rosehill's like a small town. But like if you think about Canada, Calgary Stampede is like a rodeo festival. It's huge.
Yeah.
Cowboys are like Alberta, the province, like cowboys are in Alberta.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, I think for us, we associate cowboys with like Texas and maybe like
Yes.
part of California and stuff like that. But in reality, like the cowboys are in Alberta.
Yeah.
They're in the NT here.
So what I find interesting when I'm reading the ones that are set in Canada and when they're saying certain things and they clearly have some sort of twang, I can't imagine what it is unless it's Southern. But I'm like, you're in Canada. What do you sound like?
What about Australia? Because we have the biggest, here in South Australia is the biggest cattle ranch in the world.
Yeah.
And like where my family's from in Rockhampton, it's the beef capital of the world.
Beef capital of the
Beef
world.
capital of the world, which is really
That's got a double meaning.
Yeah. Oh my God, no. They have. Oh, there was a big scandal that went years ago because when you come into the airport, there's a big bull, and someone sawed off its balls and stole its balls, and so they were like, "Hi, what's happened to the bull's balls? We need it back." And like, it was a whole like thing that happened.
They castrated the bull.
They did. So shout out
Whoa.
Rockhampton. They did actually they gave it new balls. So they gave it some prosthetics.
Got to be like a metaphor with
Yeah.
masculinity
Anything to
there that
protect the
someone should be
masculinity.
writing into a romance.
So you're not going to get much of Rockhampton, I'll be honest. Yeah, it's
So funny. What was
You said something about wineries before, Peyton, and Maisie Yates does winery cowboy romances.
Oh, that's good to know.
What about like a wind farm? Does that count?
Right.
How much are you
You
doing?
probably
How
have
much
to
work
ride
are
a
you doing on a
horse.
wind
You have to
farm?
maintain it.
Yeah, that's a genuine question.
Yeah. You'd have to maintain it.
Yeah.
I think there's like
Surely
a
you
level
could.
of like small town rancher farmer sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
BK Borison did Love Light Farms, which is
Yeah.
the farmers are actually the women in that, and they own a Christmas tree farm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and it's a small town series, and it's different seasons for each one of them, and it's so they're the farmers because they
Now
own a
that
Christmas
it's-
tree farm.
Yeah. That's so wholesome too.
Yeah, it's
I
very
love
cute.
it.
They're like
That's
best
right up your
friends.
alley.
It's so cute.
There's a reason I'm here too.
Oh my God, that cowboy Christmas one that I told you about as well. That was crazy.
What a crossover.
I
between your
know.
interests.
There is actually a lot of cowboy romance
Yeah.
for Christmas.
It's
Like
small
a
town.
lot. It is.
Yeah, small town. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if there will be more niche types of farming coming out now that it's so big. Like at some point, will the ranch thing be saturated and then they'll like branch off?
I mean, I technically branched off kind of.
Yeah.
but
Tell us about your
yeah,
books.
So my books are motocross. cowboy
Yes.
romance.
Interesting.
The motorbikes are
Explain.
horses.
The,
It's a metaphor.
Okay, well, both. So like they're small. So it's one of those things where it's like Elsie Silver has her books where like some of them are cowboys, but not all of them are cowboys. But they all kind of get like. So the main character in the first book is the son of a rancher. He's a motocross rider, and so is the main female character. She's also a motocross rider. But like they live in like a community there where they both have like cattle farms, but they are also like big on motocross.
Yeah.
And that's because people use like dirt bikes to herd cattle. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to have the horses in, but also have the motorbikes because, fun fact, I'm allergic to horses.
What?
Yeah, so I actually developed an allergy as a kid after riding horses. So I'm
no.
allergic.
That is tragic.
Surely exposure therapy, like
I
just
think it went the opposite way because I wasn't allergic to them originally because I grew up on the farm in Queensland, and then there was like,
I used to be allergic to cats, and then I got one, and I'm not allergic anymore.
maybe I should get a horse.
You should get a
That
horse.
sounds like a really good financial decision for me.
It's research. Your book.
But yeah, like, so,
Apparently Kate Middleton's allergic to horses, which seems like an occupational hazard in her.
Yeah.
life. true.
That seems like she would be guarded against that genetically, you would think.
Yeah. Some sort of selective breeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to get too much into the metaphor.
What do you mean you can't play polo?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Hey, is polo a cowboy thing? Could you have
No.
cowboy polo?
No.
Why not? They're on a horse.
Because equestrian and cowboy are two different things.
Yeah.
They don't wear the hats, Amy.
You'd have cowboy. Can you imagine that? Sending the cowboy team over to fight the kind of elite
There's a
British?
book in that, and like you're a cowboy, but you have to like
Yeah.
fill in a spot for an equestrian.
Oh, and it
or
needs
something.
to be like,
That's
the two
cool.
captains fall in love. I mean, something like that with their enemies
Yeah.
to lovers as well.
Oh, okay. I'm reading it now.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with you. I'm hearing it.
I keep thinking about something that we spoke about in the last episode about mythologizing the West, which is really interesting because it was happening, talking about like the historical ones, but they weren't historical at the time. Like they were contemporary
Yeah.
novels. So they were mythologizing while the period was, in real time kind of thing.
Which is what we do with like space, right? Like if you
Yeah.
write about going to outer space, we're doing it as it happens.
I was about
That's
to say the only
true.
westerns I've really interacted with are beyond Yellowstone, which I don't love, is space westerns.
Yeah.
So if you really sort of sit down and think about it, Star Trek the original series is a western because it's basically a caravan through the stars.
Yeah.
Also, the first Star Wars film.
Yes.
Yes.
Star Wars.
And then
Yeah.
it's obvious stuff like Firefly, and then there's a lot of video games that are space westerns as well.
Yeah.
That's really big. So yeah,
Frontiers, right?
it's all about
Yeah.
frontier,
Yeah.
right?
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
Now I want to see space polo cowboys.
All right.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Right now.
Pipe down.
No one's buying that book,
I
unfortunately.
have a laptop if you want to take it and like get started on the
Give us an elevator
proposal.
pitch.
Yeah.
Finish your question. Sorry, Paige.
Oh no, that was a good segue. I'm thinking about like what we're mythologizing in the contemporary ones because
Right.
again, they're like contemporary westerns, just like the historical ones were contemporary westerns. Like, what are we mythologizing now? We spoke about community stuff.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's
it's
obviously a
like,
big thing.
I think it's like this way of like it's anti-capitalist in the way that it's so capitalist because like
Yeah.
these ranchers make a lot of money, right? Like these people are rich. Like not everyone obviously, but like
Especially in the books.
in the
like,
books,
yeah.
they're rich, right? They've got all this money. And like, but especially when you see like trad wife content and stuff, they're like, I'm
Yeah.
living on a ranch and I'm like not part of the like, capitalist world. I'm not part of the workforce. It's like, but you are though, because you live on a ranch.
Yeah.
Like, and
That's
this is,
why you can
you're actually
live
part
the
of a
trad wife
massive
life.
industry. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're part of this
Does
massive
make
industry.
capitalism really visible? I was thinking about BK Borison with Love Light Farms. The idea that they're often trying to save their farm, like it's always at
Yeah.
risk of going under.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
like trying to like make like reconcile with the fact that we all have to work and have to work really hard. And it's like maybe if we do this job that's like fulfilling and community minded and like out in nature, maybe we'll like not hate
Yeah.
our lives so much. Even though again,
and they're
cowboy is one
also
of the hardest
a
jobs
lot
in
of
the
the
world.
time they're fighting
Yeah.
like modernization too. I feel like they're always saying like it's not like it used to be in my father's day.
Yeah,
There's always a lot of that.
yeah. I think the old handshake deals are gone. And so
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
these mass corporations coming in and like it's not ma and pa farms anymore. It's like they own the ma and pa
Yes.
farms, and that's
Yes.
what I think is, I guess, that pulling back to it's a small business and we got to save the farm.
That makes sense. Like, not to bring up Karl Marx, but it talks about like.
Do you guys have to take a drink every time he brings up Karl Marx, or is that
Sometimes-
No, but we
whenever-
should. We should have a Karl Marx counter on the bottom.
So everyone's got their own thing. Yours is Karl Marx. Ours is animals. Like we've got our things.
Yeah.
And Justina, it's Jack Halberstam.
Yeah. Everyone has something.
Everyone
It's
has something.
fine.
Anyway, what about Karl?
What did Karl say?
It makes sense because, like, I think a lot of people, when you hear about anti-capitalists on the left, blah blah blah, people assume that this is a group of people who don't want to work and aren't interested in working. Whereas if you read any kind of theory, it's really just like you don't want to be alienated from the work that you do. You want to see the products of your labor. You want to feel attached to it in some way, and you want it to be like a communal reciprocity thing. Like you're doing good things for the people around you. Your work is benefiting them. Whereas at the moment,
instrument, right? You don't want to be a tool. You want to be an agent.
yes,
Because I think the thing with capitalism that you're reacting to there with Marx is that it turns all of us into cogs instead of actual
Yeah.
agents of the system.
yeah, like it's just like really dehumanizing when you're working a job and it's kind of meaningless to
Yeah.
you. Like it's just numbers for someone else. You're not, there's no attachment to it.
Not to get all like the children yearn for the mines, but like people do like to work in some capacity. It's just you don't want to be
It's good for us.
exploited for it.
Yes.
And
you
like,
don't want to hate what you're doing.
yeah. I mean,
Mm.
I complain about having to work all the time, but it's actually something that's like, you know, so it's something that I do enjoy when it's happening.
Yeah.
But I hate having to get to it.
What type of farming would we all do?
Us
That's
individually.
Yes.
I'm going wineries. I'm going wine.
Yeah. See, I feel like a winery romance could be good. It could be quite sexy.
My mum is
You know about
technically, she's
wine?
in a co-op that owns a vineyard.
I thought you were going to say she was in a cult then.
No,
Literally a
no,
co-op.
she used to be the cult of Catholicism. No, she's in a co-op that
Yeah,
owns
winery at Clare.
a vineyard in Yass in New South Wales. And so she
Yes.
goes and like she doesn't really care about the rest of it. Like she just wants to go and take care of the grapes and the vines and stuff. So I feel like I could go
Yes.
and maybe help manage her vineyard. I don't know that I'd be into the physical work part of it.
The physical
Drink
work
the
part
wine.
is not fun. My family used to own a vineyard, and that's why I wouldn't do it for farming now.
When I was in hospitality, you'd get to go on like the hospitality day where they gave you lunch, then they gave you a pair of scissors and a hat, and you went out and cut a few grapes. That's my idea of farming. I
Right.
would do that.
Yeah,
The
no,
skills
I
we
don't
go
want.
and get some strawberries.
Yeah.
Let me talk about those stories for
Okay.
a second. Okay. What sort of this is a crazy business model. We're going to make you do the labor and you pay us to do the labor.
I know,
You
but
go
we get
pick-
to take pictures of ourselves doing this, picking the strawberries.
Every time I drive past one of those, I'm like, that is just genius. Like, why would I?
Yeah.
Like,
But it
I'm
is right
paying.
because you as the consumer get that 10 minutes of like, I'm in the field, I'm picking the strawberries, but you don't actually have to commit to that.
That's so funny. It's like when you go through the self checkout at Woolworths. I'm like, I used to get paid to do this,
Exactly.
and now you're making me do it for free.
I'm hearing that we all want to live on a farm that's like the equivalent of Marie Antoinette's little peasant village.
That's exactly it.
And a Green Gables, right?
No, I don't want to do any physical labor. I don't even do my own gardening.
Yeah, I don't garden.
Sorry,
I
it was
don't
a great
know what farm I
question.
would-
Could we have a cowboy farm or we just farm cowboys?
Like,
up.
like
another word for
morning
that.
glory milking.
Topical.
Oh, I mean, last episode they had to explain to Harry how sometimes you have to help calves give birth. Is
I
that what it
know.
was?
Oh,
And
yeah.
Harry didn't know that you have to stick it in up
Oh
to
my
the
God.
shoulder.
Oh, worse.
Or sheltered Harry.
Worse in actual, because I did my ex-in-laws ran pig farms. And you actually, pigs are so dumb they can't get it in when you're doing the insemination.
Yes,
So
you
you
have to
actually
help
have to
them.
physically guide them. So you have to,
What?
you actually have to get
So
involved in
the-
their sex lives. So farming, not for me.
These are the
Oh my
sexy
God.
parts of farming that they
Yeah, I
just don't
know.
put in the
Again,
books.
it's a
Yes.
terrible job.
What
It's
about-
such a
I mean,
bad job.
You couldn't pay me
What
to
about
do
the
it.
like
No, not animals, for
mythologization
sure.
of
No.
nature and like prioritizing everything natural, love natural this, natural that. Cows aren't. I mean, pigs aren't even natural. They can't even.
Cows, we bred them to be
They're
that way.
diverse.
Yes,
Yeah.
nothing is.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing is natural.
I'm supposed to do Christmas tree farming, right?
Oh, we could do
That's what I was
Christmas.
going to
Wow.
say.
And
This
that's
is someone
okay,
who
'cause
doesn't
that's
know
Go
your
on.
brand.
Christmas tree farms are sustainable too. Like they regrow. So that's good. I think that one's good.
It
Okay.
would smell very nice.
It would
as
be
well.
lovely.
Yeah.
And you could have cool like events at your farm at
Yeah.
Christmas time.
Christmas
and
all
I
year,
don't know.
Kathleen.
The Christmas tree farm, not to be like a downer, but the Christmas tree farm makes me think of how we talked to Melanie about
Yeah.
the trees, and that just makes me so sad. You'd
They
have to watch the trees get cut down.
They
every year.
regrow.
Taylor
I
Swift grew up on
know,
a
but-
Christmas tree farm.
Did she?
What about
did.
what about
Wow.
a pumpkin farm for like Halloween? That would be all right.
yeah,
That's
fun.
down for that.
Except we live in
Festive.
Australia where it won't grow during
And
Halloween.
also, you'd have to do something else, surely, for the rest of the year.
Yeah. You'd make sales in October.
Yeah.
But
Surely that wouldn't.
Basically,
Coast
we're
for
one
the
month
rest
a
of the
year.
year.
Done.
Pumpkin soup's a
This
thing.
is a flawless business model.
But it's true. Like farming's very different here, obviously. So, I mean, are there many cowboy romances set here?
Anita has just released one.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
is that a cowboy one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Red Dust
cool.
Running. It's cowboys.
Yes.
They're First Nations.
Yeah.
So she's like a city girl and he's a rodeo cowboy.
Classic.
Well, that's the other thing, right? You got your rodeo, which is they're not technically cowboys, but they are cowboys because they're
Yeah.
doing rodeo, but that's a
The
sport.
rodeo's mean to the bulls. Is that? Well, how do we feel about this?
As a vegan,
Let's
Let's
ask the vegan.
so I watched a lot of PBR, which is professional bull riding. They're trained like dogs, so
Right.
they get excited and they get really
They wag their
revved up.
tails.
That's
That's adorable.
cute.
And then they
Okay,
stop, and like
I'm in.
once they get pulled off the track, they calm down, and it's like because I was watching with my dad, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I'm picturing them lined up like actors now. Like, I got to go on, Ned.
Some of
Hold
them,
on.
some of them are like that. They literally like they go like, oh my god, it's my time, it's my time, it's my time. They get all excited, and then they go out and they like kick and they go nuts, and then once the guys off their back, they don't really calm down until they've been. But the rodeo clowns pull them in, and then they're like, oh, okay, and then they go out and
Are there romances about rodeo clowns?
probably not clowns. Definitely, we know that there's
I
rodeo
would
riders.
love to see a romance with a rodeo
didn't even
clown.
know
'Cause
they were
that's a
called
tough
rodeo
job.
clowns.
They're called rodeo
Surely
clowns.
there
Yeah,
is.
they're the people who tame the bull after the rider gets kicked off. 'Cause the
Right.
rider has to hold on for 8 seconds.
Yes.
But the clowns is a dangerous job.
Oh, it's a really dangerous
But
job.
that would be a cool hero.
Yeah.
Why are they called clowns?
They dress like clowns.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, in
Easy.
like in your
Wait, like with wigs?
Yeah, it's like part of the entertainment, right?
Like
Oh,
I seen one
clowns?
in
Not
I
in
went
Maybe
to
that's
PBR.
why
watch
there
the
aren't any
rodeo.
books about them.
not in,
Just
not in
saying.
PBR. They don't do clown outfits in PBR. They do, which is professional running. They do like just they're in like protective vests. Ironically, they are usually sponsored by the US Border Patrol.
That is so
Ah,
rare.
okay, so
How
what-
do you feel about that?
Yes, but look, we won't
Okay.
get into the politics of PBR. The current world number one is an Australian from Queensland, so you know that's fun. But
Nice.
they wear like protective gear and like a cowboy hats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But their job is to calm the bull down and pull it into the pen.
Yeah. There's
So
so
the
much that
bull's
I
still
don't
kicking.
know, even after reading so many contemporary westerns.
Yeah.
Why don't they put interesting information like this in there?
Because no one wants to read it, unfortunately. Even for sports romances, they're like, I don't care about the sport.
Yeah. Why is
I
that?
care about the sport. I want more sport.
Yeah.
How much of contemporary westerns is like doing that, like sort of skirting over the labor and the I don't know, the realities and how much
Most
of
of
it.
them?
Yeah,
Oh,
most of
okay.
them. Some of them try a little bit and I wonder if it's
Lila
maybe
Sage
some
definitely
people
tried.
yeah.
Like with those ones, she definitely was like, there's a ranch in Wyoming and this is how it runs.
Yes.
And like she did some stuff like kind of skirted a little bit, but she was very much like, this is a ranch and this is how it runs.
Are some people writing them? Because I assume this would be the case with a lot of the sports romances. Are some people writing them who just don't know that much about it? Yeah. There we go.
I mean, yeah, because it's that myth, like where the
Which is fair,
mythology
like, write
of
whatever you
cowboys.
want, but
yeah,
yeah.
the mythology of cowboys, right? So like,
Yeah.
they're so hot, and like friends of mine just wrote a cowboy romance, and they posted it like that they'd finished the book, and they were like, the sound is like cowboys because no one ever dreamed of riding off with an accountant, and like it's that you know that mythology of like cowboys. So I think people write it because they think hot guy on a horse, rugged, you know,
Tight
polite, tight jeans in his
Gonna carry me
Wranglers,
off into the sunset.
carry me off in the sunset. I don't have to do the manual labor, but like the reality of being a rancher's wife is like you do. But I think yeah, a lot of people would. Same with sports, but I don't think is matters as much because it's such a broad term now.
Yeah. Are there things? Because I'm still trying to like bring it back to books. That's what we should be talking
You're a
about.
great
on this
host, Pete. You've been
podcast,
great.
theoretically. Are there things that we enjoy and don't enjoy in the Western romances that we read? Like, are there any
Toxic masculinity.
Yeah, that would be one. I hate when the characters are all the same in every book. I know that's like not genre specific, but I've read a bunch of contemporary westerns, and sometimes I'm like, this is the same person. The voice is the same. Everything is the same
By different authors or in one series?
within one series,
Yeah.
but also across them a bit as well. But I suppose that's what happens. Yeah, if you're like working off of references of references of references, then
Like photocopies getting
yes.
And also with such a specific blueprint too.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
typecasting. It's like,
That would be the same in romantasy, right?
Yeah.
Same
God,
kinds
yeah.
of heroes, same.
Oh yeah, here's a good question. Are there any fantasy Western?
my
I
God,
know we're
would
talking
be.
about contemporary, but does
There
that happen a
are.
lot? Like I feel
Yeah,
like
there
you guys
would
talked
be.
about it a little bit in the last episode.
I was looking at my bookshelf yesterday because I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't forgetting anything that I've read. And I remembered one that I read years and years ago. I think it might be YA fantasy. It's by Ray Carson. I think it's called Walk the Earth a Stranger. But it's the character's magic is that she can sense where the gold is. And so she's like often used and like really her family desperately needs her. But yeah, I remember liking it a lot. but also I get nervous when I recommend a book that I read a long time ago because I
Yeah.
Sure. You're like, oh, that wasn't as good as I remember.
In the Star Wars universe, they did a Kenobi
The
book.
Kenobi book.
That's a
yes,
Western, and
yes.
technically Star Wars isn't sci-fi. It's
space
space fantasy.
Yeah, it's fantasy in
So
space.
Kenobi would be a
Kenobi's great because he's like the lone wanderer who wanders into the small town. That's basically what it is. It's just Star Wars.
Yeah.
So people didn't sort of think of it as a Western because they're like, oh, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like, no, somebody wrote this as a Western.
Yeah, it's a full-on
Stephen
Western.
King wrote that his big fantasy series, The Gunslinger. That's a Western.
Oh, yeah.
I think like Westerns, it's like they're so my granddad and my dad loved Clint Eastwood, like the rolling into town and this town ain't big enough for the two of us, and like it's so masculine. I think the cowboy romances came in and were like, what if they were cute?
Yeah.
Like what if we did this but it was like cute? And I love that because it's
There
like
was always romance in the westerns too, in the old films.
Yeah,
wasn't there? Like
absolutely.
High Noon and other things, or like even John Wayne. A lot of his old westerns were very romantic, or before the talkies even, like back in the silent times when they had Cary Grant, they would be romance westerns.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'm not gonna remember the word.
Gary Cooper, not Cary Grant. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
Sorry, everyone.
sorry, everyone.
What do you
PSA, PSA.
You know how revisionist, that's what I'm thinking. Because there are obviously your traditional kind of Western pieces of media, and there are the revisionist ones that try to diversify the setting and things like that. Where does contemporary cowboy romance sit in that space? Are they revisionist inherently? Are they not revisionist at all? Like, are they kind of reinscribing?
probably reinscribing because they're now.
Yeah.
So if the contemporary set now, they're going to be more diverse because we've diversified our characters, we've diversified, the
How
settings and stuff like
diversified are Western romances?
What's that, sorry?
I don't know that I've
The
read
contemporary
enough.
ones?
Yeah, the contemporary one. How diversified are they? Are they?
I mean, all the ones that I've read are straight, so that's one thing. Not that queer ones don't exist, but I haven't actually
How white
seen them.
are they?
They're pretty white.
I was gonna say because historically, like in America, a lot of the cowboys were Mexican, and
Yes.
I don't see that really in black, and like I
If
don't
you look
really
at-
see that reflected.
As you know,
Sometimes.
like Beverly Jenkins, Miss Bev, she writes historical westerns that are about African Americans, like enslaved people after the Civil War, going west and trying to set up new lives. And
That's really
Well,
cool.
like country music was started by freedmen, like previous slaves, immigrants from Ireland, and poor white people in Appalachia. So all of your like country music, that's the roots of it, is those three pillars. And so it's not white music, it's not created by white people, it's in conjunction with poor people, Irish immigrants, and freed slave.
Yeah.
So it's that's as well as like if we're talking about like westerns and stuff, like I said, there are Mexican. They have like a whole other name for them as well,
Yeah.
which I forget. But the Mexican, and also big on First Nations people, Indigenous people in America. They're big cowboys, turquoise as well. Like if you're buying turquoise, you got to buy it from Indigenous for it to be
Yeah.
ethical.
But I think in the reality of it has always been very diverse. But the fictions, I think, since the 20th century, I mean, very whitewashed.
It's
by
something that
Hollywood.
happens a lot, right? Where historically the reality is very diverse,
Yeah.
or that the roots of something are very diverse, and then in our contemporary times, people think of it as a very, people tend to think of country as a very white thing, but it's really not.
No.
Just we've created that image when it's not true at all, or at least
Yeah.
the roots of it are.
Yeah,
It
the
might be
roots of
very
it.
white now.
I was doing some research for a secret project, and I was looking at Wyoming. And did you know that Wyoming, 2 years after it was founded, gave women the vote? One of the first places in the world to give women the vote. I think it was like 1890 something.
all
Yeah,
women.
wow.
Well, I don't know. I would say white women.
I would say white women.
I would say white
probably.
women. But I don't know, because that's after slavery. So probably all women.
There's
Not necessarily. I mean,
I don't
white
know. I'd
women,
have to
black
look.
women, Asian women, Indigenous women.
I'll look
you
it
know,
up.
there's a
I'll look it up for you.
and
but-
they all got the vote at a
But I
different
thought it
time.
was
So
interesting that for such a kind of, you know, we often think of the West as very conservative.
It's really not.
But they also had a female governor in like 1920 something.
There's this weird like thing about like certain areas of traditional, I guess traditional beliefs about like women, where it's like it's actually more so white. You know, obviously not the same with different races, but like where it's they just kind of they are protective of them with and still see them as people. And then it's like this whole thing of like, oh well, of course, like she should get a vote because you know, and it's
Yeah.
weirdly like it's you know the weird redneck equality thing, you know, and it's very strange to
Suppose
think about
there
it in that way.
these circumstances where people have to be quite pragmatic about things, especially historically. So yeah, things like the distribution of labor
They do
and
so
mutual
much.
respect and stuff, like you needed everyone, like all hands on deck kind of thing. Even if you think of like sex workers, like they were kind of like a fundamental, obviously there's so many problems to consider there, but like they were clearly staples in these communities for a reason historically. Yeah. So it's interesting. That's why I get really frustrated as well when women think back to historical periods and they presume that women weren't working. I'm like, you're clearly identifying yourself with
Yeah.
the
Upper
wealthiest
class,
women.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because they
which is
absolutely
funny.
were working, and they were like, and they were fighting their husbands if their husbands were being mean to them,
Yeah.
and they
Because
like,
even if we go back in our own family trees, I bet if you go talk to your grandparents, great grandparents, like not many of us are from upper class, right? Like
No.
I know my great grandma was a laundress, and my grandmother was a tailor, and like
Yeah.
they all worked.
And like often, I mean, obviously there's like a power imbalance here, but often women would be their husband's apprentices and stuff like that because like you would have to take over if anything happened to him. So you were in it together, working on your business together. I presume it would be the same with cowboy stuff, farms.
yeah, I mean, like
ranches.
being a rancher's wife is like not. It's not like a job where you sit around and go, oh, I'm gonna make some cookies. Like you're feeding the animals and doing all these things, making sure he doesn't die. Like
Yeah.
you know, fixing fence posts and doing all this manual labor and stuff like that. And it's not this trad wife sort of
No.
thing. You know, it's a lot of work and like
medical care. I
Yes.
imagine if you're like rural too, like having to be across medical care.
Mhm.
They used to give out these books, right, with listed if your child breaks a leg, here's what you do. Or like if someone has, I don't know, pneumonia, here's what you do.
There's a thing of like if you work in like a rural hospital and a farmer comes in, you need to take him straight to like through the ER.
Yeah, if he came in by himself, his wife didn't make him.
Yeah.
You put him in the emergency.
Yeah,
room.
no matter what he's saying, you need to put him in emergency because something is really, really, really bad. 'Cause there's no way that they come into town unless it's like it's really bad.
So to bring it back to books again, what are what are our favorite contemporary Western romance novels?
Good question. Well, B, you've got the most experience here.
I'm impartial to an Elsie Silver. Her first series was like horse racing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like because that's like what she knew, and so the horse racing. So the Gold Rush Ranch was like these rich people with rich horses, and it was like
Yeah.
it was so different. And then Chestnut Springs was like, oh, they're like still rich, but it's like different. I don't know. And then this latest one, they're like, oh, back to being rich again. But yeah, I mean, I love an Elsie Silver. Just anything she writes, I'm a really big.
It's
fan
so
of.
funny, like thinking about the wealth thing, because in Australia right now there are so many things for farmers to worry about. Not just money, but the environment. Like we've had the driest year
Yeah,
this
they're really
year,
struggling.
and it's like, yeah, you
We
never
should do
really
the
work
line
those
dance thing
things
for
into
it.
these. Yeah,
It was like a fundraiser for it was like dance in the dirt for like it was like doing a rain
Wow.
dance to try and get the rain.
Like
to come.
everyone else in Australia is like, what? What do you mean dry?
Yeah,
they've all had
We're like, we need some
floods.
rain. I felt like my granddad so much during this like recent weeks where I was like, we needed this.
yeah,
We really needed this.
Every time someone complains about the rain, I'm like, nah, it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we need the rain.
We had like 4 months
Good for the
without
farmers.
rain. We'll be fine. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But also like chicken farmers are suffering at the moment. Like the reason there's no eggs on the shelves.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so rough for them at the moment.
yeah.
Tomato
then you-
farmers. We got no tomatoes.
You open these books where the ranchers, the farmers are all really rich and stuff. And you're like,
Yeah.
is that really how
Everything
it
is so bountiful.
The
like,
ones who are
yeah.
big are big. Like they make a lot of money, and then the rest of them is like not so much.
It'd be interesting to see, because like I think about your work on Clyro and stuff like that, how these contemporary westerns might engage more with the issues being faced and then inject it with all of the hope of a romance novel, which you're both experts in. Like I don't read many that do that. Like the problems are usually relationship based, not farm based, not environment based.
Australian
That's
rural
interesting.
romance does do it. Not always, but I can think of a couple just off the top of my head. But they do.
Yeah.
They do engage with it a lot more. And rural romance, though, is not necessarily always.
No, but
gonna
rural
fit that.
romance is probably our equivalent, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And Australia's got a long history of kind of acknowledging that this place is trying to kill us.
Yeah, I was going to
Mhm.
say this. The
Yeah.
whole like Australian Gothic comes from the fact that we're not supposed to be here.
Even though
Yeah.
we have thrived and like taken from the land as much as we can. Do you know, like we are such a wealthy country because of farming and mining and things from the land. So, but we have this narrative. How about harshness? I think.
Well, it's because
So-
we came here and we treated it like, we, the white people, came here and treated it like it was Europe.
Yeah.
yeah.
Where if we'd come here and we'd done very specific kinds of farming and very specific kinds of
And listen
yeah.
to people who maybe knew.
and
the
maybe listen to
country.
some folks who had been here for a while and knew what the land was like and where pockets of land would be good for farming.
Yeah.
We might have been
a bit better.
White people didn't listen. What?
Crazy.
Well, I don't have a favorite one because I haven't read any, but I'm happy to take recommendations.
What? Get out.
All I know is space
So
western
you're like Star
and
Wars.
video games.
Yeah,
so fun.
Star Wars. That counts.
Like Outer Wilds is a great video game and you play a banjo and stuff. It's very western.
Oh my god, with the banjo,
Nice.
this recording studio yesterday, it's so much fun. It's so heavy.
Cool.
It's so heavy.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I don't read as much contemporary. I've only started recently, but obviously Elsie Silver, and Becca Mack is pretty good. I think
Yeah.
Becca Mack's and similar. Like it's all the joy of the small town because I am a bit of a sucker for community and yeah, those kind of small town vibes. So they'd be my recs.
same.
And also I'd say Maisie Yates,
Yeah.
who is comes to Australia a lot and comes to RWA, and I just think her as a person. When you meet her, you're like, oh, all of you is in your books. Like it's just kind of warm and level-headed, but I don't know. There's just so much heart. I think.
I do a lot of the Christmas romance ones. There is this author Sarah Morgan Thaler. She's not really a cowboy.
I loved the book.
Yeah, and she's
Yeah.
not a cowboy, but one of her Moose Springs ones don't count as cowboy, but her most recent one that came out last year, I just read it at Christmas, and it is Christmas romance, but that one is like set on a ranch, and that one's very good as well. That one always gets me in the feelings.
It doesn't have to be romance. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many.
What non-romance ones would
I
you
mean, I'm
recommend?
obsessed with Laramie Murtry. I think I've said this before. Everyone should read Laramie Murtry.
Mhm.
It's incredible.
Anyone else?
What was yours, Peyton?
I hate answering questions like that. You
You
weren't
asked
supposed
it.
to ask
You
me.
asked it.
Well, I see. I would also say Elsie Silver. I
Mhm.
just really love her books, especially her previous two series have been like my favorites.
Yeah, you and I big on Elsie Silver.
Yeah.
She's just like, I think she's just the Calgary thing. Like she's just
Yeah.
part of it. Like she puts a little bit of herself in every book. Like
Yes.
she, was a horse girl, so that's where the first series came from. And then her son's a wrestling fan, so that's where the latest book came from.
Yeah.
And she dated a lot of hockey players, so that's where Powerless came from because she's, a Canadian. And so
Yeah.
she's like, I want to write to right the wrongs of all the hockey boys that have broken my heart. So here's Powerless,
And
So-
she's one of those ones who doesn't make the mistake that some authors in general do, which is like making every character the same.
Yeah.
And I
Have
think
you
it's 'cause
seen
of
her
that.
husband?
Oh my god, I saw the picture of it.
Oh my
It
god.
all makes so
Good
much
for
sense.
her. I was like, this is where Theo Silver came from.
I see.
I have a
yep.
theory. This is my theory. A theory that her last name is Silva, as in the Portuguese silver. Because that's what Theo's name is. And she
Theo.
says she's like, you'd be surprised how many people write under a pen name. That's my theory.
So she might be
I
writing
think
under.
I think her husband's
You heard the
Brazilian.
conspiracy
That's
here
my
first. Bee's here with the hot takes.
That's my
That
hot
would be a
take.
great law drop for the Elsie Silver fan.
That's my hot take is that I think that their last name is actually Silva. And that's what she's put into the book.
We need like music in the background, like.
And she said that Kate is based on her husband. But
Interesting.
but good for her.
Good for her,
Good for
truly.
her.
Also, screw her.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah. And with that, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this episode of Amy and thank you, all of you, for being here. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks.
I think we should have even more guests next time.
Oh, we
just
could-
like
we could just add one
increase
every
it.
week.
Yeah.
See how big it
A
gets.
cacophony of
It's a
voices.
good idea.
Sure. Make sure to tune in next week to hear the interview with Amy Barry. about her
Yes, you
newest
might have heard of
book.
Amy Barry.
Can't wait.
I hope you're enjoying the book. You better be.
That's right. 'cause
Or
we're gonna talk
else,
about
right?
it.
Yeah.
I'd love it
Or
already,
else.
thanks.
I'm not going to be at book club, so you can just tell the truth.
That's right.
We
Tune in to see
hated it.
more of his chaos.
Thank you, everyone, so much. We'll see you next week. And thank you all for being here.
Thanks.
Bye.